Hi! In this video, we look at two modules from acModules for VCV Rack, Chord4Roy and Pick6. Chord4Roy is a guitar-style polyphonic CV generator. Pick6 is an 8-step finger-pickin trigger sequencer with 50 patterns. This could also be called a 1-to-6 pattern switch. Pick6P is an expander for Pick6, which lets you customize 2 of the pattern slots. Though they work independently, Chord4Roy and Pick6 were really made to go hand in hand, so we'll demonstrate them together. We'll also use a module to make a plucked guitar sound, a drum module, and a sequencer to sequence chord changes. With Chord4Roy, you select a root note and the type of chord you want. You can also choose to use open neck chords or bar chords. Chord4Roy then outputs 6 channels of note data and 6 channels of mute data should that guitar-style chord have string mutes. We'll look at this in a minute. Pick6 has 50 preset patterns of 8-step sequences that output to one of 6 channels on each step. You could think of this as finger-picking the strings on a guitar. The presets vary from sparse to full, and you can always program your own. But it's easier to demonstrate by hearing how it sounds. Let's start with the basic pattern and some simple chord changes. You can hear this sounds like we're playing the strings on a guitar, one after the other. You'll also hear that the A chord has a muted string and is not played. Let's listen to some other patterns. Patterns can of course be sequenced, and I'm sure you'll find some that fit with your track. As we've been hearing, the patterns loop back to the beginning after the last step. This can be changed using the end of pattern switch. Besides just looping, there are 2 other options. The first is to go to an empty pattern, then return. The second option is to go to the next pattern, then return. 2 patterns next to each other with slight variations give a natural feel to the sequence. Now let's look at a feature that Pick6 provides that adds even more life to your tracks. We'll switch to a pattern that happens to have a lot of steps muted because of the current chord progression. Then we'll turn on Smart Riff. Smart Riff can replace muted steps with notes that are not muted. Smart Riff algorithmically determines if and when to replace muted steps and chooses notes that are non-repetitive to keep the track moving. Smart Riff will also algorithmically augment patterns with skipped steps. And unlike a real guitarist, Smart Riff will occasionally take a break and not add notes to a pattern, choosing to come back in later when it's appropriate. Finally, let's take a look at Pick6P, the programmer for the two user patterns. We moved to the first user pattern and turned off SmartRiff. Now we can use the column of 8 knobs to determine which note, if any, to play on that step. It's easy to build up patterns this way, experimenting with each step and each note like you might on a real guitar. All the other features of Pick6 work with user patterns, like the end of pattern options and SmartRiff. And that's a look at Chord4Roy, Pick6, and Pick6P from acModules.